सर्वधर्मान् परित्यज्य मामेकं शरणं व्रज.
The miseries of material existence and the most hopeless conditions of life is the best possible opportunity to turn to God.
Brhat Bhakti presents The Gift of Desperation, a Bhakti recovery podcast. This is a 12-step based Bhakti-oriented space. Here we share our experience, strength, and hope in the spirit of recovery from addictions and associated behaviors. Welcome. Well, hello. Here we are again. Brhat Mrdanga. Hello, Brhat Mrdanga.
Hello, Jiva. Nice to see you again.
Yes, nice to see you too. Even if you're in 33 Celsius degree Mayapur and I am in, I don't know what it is here. It must be 12, which is not so bad. 12 is kind of nice. In Germany. So yeah, I mean, I don't even know if I need to introduce you, but I will anyway. Brhat Mrdanga. He heads up the Bhakti Recovery Group in-person meetings in Mayapur. He does that service and he does it wonderfully. And I'm so grateful. Brhat Mrdanga is a lovely man, lives in Mayapur. He is a really interesting, amazing devotee who has really deep insights to a lot of things. And I know I'm not supposed to promote anything, but I think it comes from a lot of psychedelics. I always have like these kind of like deep conversations that you and I have. You know, like those insights, I attribute it to like, well, first of all, you have to be that kind of person. And then when you take psychedelics on top of it, I mean, you used to, not anymore. Of course, we're clean and sober, but it kind of changes you. It kind of opens that portal to another way of thinking. What do you think about that, Brhat?
Yeah, I agree. It I had a lot of benefit from it, but somehow or other I was able to use it in a very particular way, which I was able to get that benefit. But it's a very specific way. And yeah, that's why I wouldn't promote it either.
Yeah, it's definitely not a promotable thing. But I do have to say that there is a certain, and I don't even know if it's called a benefit. I mean, you can call it benefit for now in hindsight, but it's kind of, and it's kind of, I can't really say that I've had any kind of amazing, like, I've had incredible insights, which I've had also straight. It's just a different thing. But I want to change the subject because it sounds like I'm promoting psychedelics.
The problem with it is it's all mental, and then when you come out of the trip with all this mental stuff, then you think that now I'm that, but actually you're not.
Yes,
it's still just in your head, but you're living as if it's in your life, and then that messes you up completely. Just because you saw something
an egg
doesn't mean
beater.
anything. Yeah.
It's an egg beater. It's an egg beater that goes into your thought process and it just beats it like. And then when you're done, you're like,
Yeah, and it gives you a massive ego.
Oh my God, yeah, yeah. I guess it can do that, can it? But anyway, our topic today, which I was totally way off there. I'm super sorry. Anyone, please, kids, don't try this at home. This is not a promotion of psychedelic drugs. Was transparency in relationships. And the reason why we wanted to talk about this today is because we were having a conversation about something between him and I. Brhat Mrdanga and I, we were communicating something, and there was a bit of a not a misunderstanding, but kind of a question about why I was doing something and why I had asked a certain question to a certain person, and he had asked me why. And it was really, I really loved it because it was often what we do is we communicate, people communicate, and there's a misunderstanding, and the other person gets upset or aggravated, or, and the lack of healthy communication skills leads towards resentment or whatever else, or thinking something else about someone else. So complete transparency in relationships that we consider an investment or something that we consider we'd like to have in our lives, a certain relationship, is, for me, brutally, brutally important, if not the most important thing.
Mm.
What do you say about that, Brhat?
Yeah, I absolutely agree. I think that, authenticity or non-duplicity is, for me, absolutely essential in just being a healthy human being. What to speak of like embarking on, a spiritual path or a path of recovery, because ultimately what we display to others is also what we kind of accept about ourselves. And if we're hiding certain things to others, we're actually just cheating ourselves. And yeah, there's no way you're going to move forward that way. So I think being honest and authentic with others is a reflection of how we are treating ourselves.
I think that that's a really great insight. And I'm going to ask you something about that. How is that for you? Like, how does that look for you? So let's take any situation in your life with any person you care about, or that you're having a relationship with, whether that's a friendship, a love relationship, a family relationship. Although the family thing, that kind of can get a little, can get sticky at times. But let's
dynamics,
yeah, those dynamics can be pretty tricky. But excuse me. But so what is transparency for you? So let's say I say something to you. Let's take the situation that we had without having to go into great detail about it. But let's say that situation where, we're communicating, and what went on with you? What was the process of going on with you? You read the message that I wrote, and what was your head process? Like, because this is, I think, really important that we go into specifics about it so that people understand how we get to those, to the need of communication without confusing,
Yeah. Well, I think it was first a series of feelings that really came up first.
Okay.
And so I felt maybe initially I felt a little bit offended, or what's the word, like blindsided, not blindsided, like pushed to the side a little bit. I felt a bit undermined, not recognized. And
my God, I'm so sorry. I'm such a
no,
jerk. I'm
it's
like the
fine because
elephant. I'm like the elephant I'm the elephant in the China room. I did not ever think about doing something like that. But anyway, go ahead. So
yeah, it's fine. It's like, I think, and then so this went past, and then I was just thinking like, what? Why? And then I first looked at that a bit and just acknowledging, well, I shouldn't think that anything belongs to me, and some of the feelings I could like trace back to, like, well, that must be my ego. This must be my expectations that I had of something. This is what something of like how I wish to be perceived, and this didn't like play out with that. So there's a lot of that kind of stuff relating to ego and mind and attachment. So I saw that, and then I thought, okay, I should try and resolve it like with knowledge. So I did that, and it worked for a lot of the things, but then still there was some stuff left. And sometimes, even with all the knowledge at our disposal, and all the tools, then still, you might still be a little bit stuck at something, and then that question might still be there, but why? I just want to. So I think that was what I was feeling, and there was a bit of a hesitation to like ask first, because basically I would expose myself as, having an ego. It's like, whoa, now everybody knows
yeah,
I also have one.
yeah. It's like, oh no, please, I am an
I don't
enlightened
know.
devotee. I do
Right.
not have an ego. Like I just let everything.
No
Yeah.
one must ever know my secret. No one will ever want to be my friend, or something like silly. So then I thought, okay, but to hell with that, because I'm just going to ask, and because surely there must also be some good reason behind it. So also trying to like have a healthy, one thing my mother tried to teach me was like giving somebody the benefit of the doubt.
Mm.
And like, unless you can say with 100% certainty that a thing is in a particular way, then, and there's that 1% doubt, then you have to give the benefit of the doubt to the person. You can't make a concrete conclusion without, solid facts.
So
So
do you think
anyway, so
just because that's a really
mhm,
great point, and before we go on, I want to ask you about that. So there's that one point of having those feelings. Now there are people who aren't. I mean, I consider myself in the past one of those people who would stop right there at the feelings and act out in a certain way, be like, you're a jerk, and what do you, or whatever it is, however to not go further and to say like, okay, what does logic have to do with this?
yeah.
So was there a process for you to get to the point of having that kind of, or were you before recovery, before Krishna consciousness, were you reactive to something like this? Would you just react? And the more you get into your Krishna consciousness and working a program, that you can do that one pause and be like, okay, what's fact, what's feeling, and how do I find out the facts?
Yeah, I believe it's like the latter, how you explained it,
Mm-hmm.
that it was I used to be like very impulsive. I still
Mm-hmm.
can be. And also just meditating. I never read the book, but this is one principle from, what is it? Healthy Habits of Highly Successful People or something. I think it's from
I
that
don't
book,
know
and
the
where
book.
they're talking about how when something happens and your reaction, there's a gap in between, and you're able to actually pause inside that gap and make it as big as you want to. And in that gap, you've got infinite choices, and there's your choice within that gap. So I've been really meditating a lot and trying to just stick into the gap and just see what are my choices actually to this thing that happened. How I can choose to respond in a certain way. And before,
Mm.
it's like I never felt I had a choice, because um, that happened so fast. That gap was so short. But I've
So,
I've I've learned by practice how to make it bigger, and I think that's another way of saying more mode of goodness has
so
come
how
in
do
my
you, what do
life.
you think attributed to that? Because I think this is really the meat of it. I mean, excuse the expression. I
Mhm.
think this is like the real sustenance of what we're talking about. How did you get to that point of being able to exercise that pause? What were some of the tools that you had in order to be like, okay, stop? Because I think a lot of people, especially when we're in our feelings and reactionary feelings, it's very hard to learn that pause without losing your shit everywhere.
Mhm.
Um, so for you, what were just a couple of things that you did to get to that point?
I think by nature, I'm able to tolerate quite a bit. It's
Mm,
I think being Afrikaans boer, like it's they're quite resilient, and just from my childhood as well, I was had to tolerate a lot, and also with my marriage, since I got married, learning to put aside my own feelings and, how to say, I don't want to say needs, because that can actually become
hmm.
it can be interpreted in an unhealthy way. But sometimes you just kind
I
of
know
put it a
what you
little bit,
mean.
you just pause it. You don't put it aside, you just pause it to make
Well,
space
it's for
for the
the
other
it's the
person.
it
Yeah,
yeah, it's benefit for the family actually to put your
exactly,
ego in the
exactly.
back seat for the
Mhm.
benefit of the family community.
Yeah. Yeah, and my marriage almost actually did fall apart, when she was pregnant with our first kid, and it was a lot of chaotic stuff happening. Um, there was, without getting into too much details, it did cross over the limit, but there was a point where I had to learn how to do that. I think I
Mm,
don't know. I think I was kind of forced into that situation, and
which is usually
just
the most beneficial. getting
right.
like getting like pounded into submission to do something, for an addict, I think is something, it's par for the course.
It's power, yeah, it's what we need. I've been praying about it a lot. Just relationship is something that my whole life has been so important to me. Like being able to
Mm,
connect to people, be able to being my authentic self and just have meaningful exchanges with people. And it's something I've been meditating my whole life. It's something I've been praying about a lot. And I think I've been put into situations so that I could get the downloads I need to
mm,
be able to do that. So I think I can't really say it's any single thing. I think it's just my life experiences have
Well, it's
naturally
reflection.
gifted
I
me.
think
Yeah.
I think maybe the thing is, and that's the thing, some people need tangible tools in order to understand how to work through something. And perhaps just for you being on a spiritual journey with Krishna consciousness and now with the program, the more aware you become. So, often for me, it was like the reason why I asked that specific question, it doesn't mean there's not a right or wrong answers, because like when I first embarked on the journey of recovery, I was literally like completely autistic. And I needed literally to have someone put the pen in my hand and show me like, this is this, and this is that, and this is this. And then I got it. And I needed to have like certain totally specific ways of doing things because I was completely deregulated. So I find it interesting that
I had
you,
some you could say education of that when I was a kid, because I was like super ADHD and Tourette syndrome and OCD and all these things, and undiagnosed like autism. And so there was this one thing, my mom actually had a little poster, not a poster, but this little thing on my door. It said, stop, think, evaluate, proceed.
stop,
So
think, evaluate,
yeah,
proceed. I like that.
step, take one step at a time. Stop, think, evaluate, proceed. And it made an impression on me, but
Mm,
I had to go into like, my early adulthood before I actually started understanding like how to use that properly.
mm,
But it is
mm.
something that helped me a lot and
Well,
is
that is
helping
that a
me still.
tool, that's
Yeah.
a tangible, concrete tool, even if
Hmm.
it's done in the head. Some people can do it that way. Some people need it on paper. So, I mean, we went off like we didn't go off. We went into a certain. So we went into that pause now. So we've
Hmm.
talked about the pause. I asked you about the tools you used or how you got to that exercising that pause. So, if you can remember where I interrupted you, um,
You
where
were asking me about how I responded, what was my
yes, exactly.
process? Yeah, yeah.
No, that was my question. My question was like, so
Mhm.
do you know now where to pick up where I started asking specifics to continue with that process?
Yes,
So
yes.
there, so there was a pause, and then for the better of the family,
Hmm.
and then because I said so many people are overwhelmed by their, including myself, maybe not as much anymore from working the program, but don't get that pause, and if they do, it's a very short-lived
Yeah,
pause.
yeah.
So we were talking about communication, and we were talking about being very transparent.
Hmm.
And
Yes, yes.
we were going to backtrack about the situation with you and I, that
Hmm.
one hiccup. And then, yeah.
Yeah,
Do you,
that's more or less, what we had been discussed, up until now.
yeah, I'm just trying
So
to, I'm trying to sum that up and then go further. So now we're
yes, yes,
here, and then
yes.
what?
So then what? So I had to make a choice, and I felt that I valued the relationship enough to put myself out. I also considered it an opportunity to test the relationship, because if before I would have reservations about doing this. I think maybe the person will think I'm like this or big ego, or oh, he just wants his recognition or whatever. But then I look inside of myself, I'm like, okay, yeah, I can see those things in me, but I also wish to get rid of those things, so I'm not really invested into cultivating that. So I'm comfortable with me. And if a person cannot respond in kind, then it's like, okay, then that's about as far as our relationship will be, because I'm not going to
Fantastic.
invest more into that relationship, although I'm open and everything. So in that way, it's like a test as well to see from that. And I was very happy the way you responded was wonderful, and I think it showed a lot of your character as well. And then I think our relationship benefited from it a lot.
Oh
So
my
I'm
gosh,
glad I did
totally.
it. Yeah, and there was
I'm
nothing.
really
Head
glad
was
you did
cleared.
too.
Yeah.
What I really love is, and this is the one thing, and I do very well with direct, and I would say concrete conflict. Like if somebody
Mm.
comes to me with like a, like they have maybe an inner conflict with themselves, and they tell that to me and say, "You're part of this." I deal with those situations really well, I have to say. I'm comfortable in that because I really want to get things clear. Always my goal is to clear up the relationship.
Mm-hmm.
I find it very hard for me to have a relationship with someone who's not transparent with me about their
Right.
feelings. And so often though, I think what perhaps you and I share is that the need, the want, and not only the need and want, but the benefits of having a transparent relationship that can take some conflict.
Mm.
I mean, because I think two people come together, no matter what their friendship or relationship is, and when they feel a connection, there are going to be, because we're here in the material world, we're conditioned, there are going to be things that's going to get in the way,
Yeah.
period.
I mean, even in the spiritual world, it's there. It's like it's a fundamental part of having a relationship with another sentient being. Is that I have a will, you have a will, and at some point there's going to be a difference. It's because we're different, we're unique. So you can't expect to think that there should be no conflict in your relationship is impersonal. Yeah, it's
Absolutely.
outright complete impersonalism because either that means that they should just have no desire and they should just follow you, or that they should be like you.
Yeah,
It's like
exactly.
yeah,
Or like, just,
and if
don't do anything to make me feel uncomfortable, please, in this relationship. Like
right.
anything you do that makes me uncomfortable will be held against you in the court of my head.
Yeah, they
Like,
do something and you're like, wait a minute, that's not in the script. It's like,
that's not in the script. You're not supposed to act like this. You're not supposed to
yeah,
feel like that.
you didn't learn your
That's
lines. Come on, try it again.
that's so funny. In the in
Yeah.
the, in the big book, or in I think it's the 12 and 12. No, it's the big book. They say that we're I think it's in Dr. Alcoholic Addict, which is called something else now. I'm old school. I can't remember what it's called. Where he says we're the directors, the players, and everything else in the whole play. And we want complete control over everything. Lights, the people in the play, their script, all of this stuff. And this is a very tragic play because
Huh.
we're not going to have everyone doing what we want all the time. It's that thing that I always said in recovery, and that's when I entered recovery and I entered the realm of God, I stopped trying to pave the whole world and I just decided to put on slippers.
Mm.
And that's true in relationships.
You
Because
decided to stop painting the world and you put on slippers.
carpeting the world.
Oh, carpeting
Carpeting.
the world. Oh, and you put, oh, okay.
Yes.
That's
I think I
nice.
said
Yes.
pay the world. I think I said paving,
Paving.
but I
I
but I
heard
mean
painting.
carpeting. Yeah, no.
Uh-huh.
Carpeting the world, and I just decided to put on slippers.
Right.
You know.
Yeah.
Um
It reminds me of Bhakti Tirtha Swami. He had there was these 4 principles of healthy community that he talked about, and one of the principles he said, view all conflicts as your own fault first. And it's
mm,
like if ever conflict happens, the first consideration should be like, what part did I have to play in this? How did I maybe look at it from a specific perspective to get this conclusion or whatever? And in that way, most of the times it's actually like, the problem's at home. It's
absolutely.
yeah.
I think that that's really key right now, especially in having a transparent relationship
Mm.
with others, is that we have a transparent relationship with ourselves. And I think, when, and I love this with Bhakti Tirtha Swami because he's so in line with the 12-step program. He's so in line with just for me, what I understand and I relate to as the practice of bhakti, something that actually, you know what, my mind just went off on an ADHD thing. I have to speak at a Bhakti Tirtha Swami. I don't know what it is. It's sort of all of his. I don't think it's a guru puja, but I don't remember, and I hope it's not now or today. I have to look at my calendar. That's why my head just went off somewhere else. Ah! But yeah, the cleaner it's that thing where you want the world to be a better place, start in your backyard. I know it's
Mm,
cliche, but it is so true. I mean,
mm.
is there not truth in that?
Yeah, it's a fact, because that's the only place where you have control. Like you don't have control in your neighbor's yard. You can't say decide which tree to trim or which, bush to cull. It's like because it's not your property. But in your property, you can decide whatever you want, and that's where you have your power and control. So that's where our focus then should be, is like, what can I do in myself? Because that's the only place where I have control. I can make decisions. I can choose aspirations. I can make a sankalpa. I can determine myself into a specific
Mm,
direction to cultivate something. So that's up to me. So the focus should be there. And oftentimes the focus is like beyond us, like in the neighbor's yard. And then you never accomplish anything because you cannot, because that's
yeah,
not,
you're
you don't
just
have
too
the
busy saying
authority
like,
there.
look at the neighbor, look at the neighbor, look what they're doing.
Right.
Let's call the
Yeah.
police. Germans love doing that.
All
Sorry,
right.
Germans. Sorry, Germans. Sorry, Germans, but it's true. It's like, and even I've been guilty of, the older I get, I'm like, that neighbor, they're making so much noise. It's Sunday, like I've become that person
Uh,
in a certain, I don't act on it, but I think it. I'm like,
don't
Jesus,
don't
what is
become
wrong
a
with me?
cranky granny, please.
Granny, I know. It's like, what are
Rather
you doing
rather
over
be
there?
that rather be that granny that plays pranks on people.
Oh my God, yeah. Well, that'll
Yeah,
be me too. I think we know
mischievous.
that, right?
It's a much more jolly approach.
It is absolutely. So what would you say? What would you say for yourself? Um, so being that wanting to have transparency in your relationships through transparency with yourself.
Mhm.
Um, how has that benefited you? Just like in your family life or in your devotee life? First of all, in your family life, how does that benefit in your family life?
Well, I have an incredibly intimate relationship with my wife because of it, and she reciprocates also with in kind, and I think that we're very happy and healthy relationship. Like we
Mm.
don't shy away from conflict or differences. Even sometimes, some sparks may go up, but there's never anything like extreme that happens, because we don't sweep stuff under the rug, and we also allow that space for each other to just be human, and
Mm.
and
Oh,
and
that's
even
so
just,
important.
yeah, it's so lovely to have it.
That's a big
Yeah.
statement. Allow
Mm.
space for each other to be human, which means mistakes, which means misactions, which means
Right.
forgiveness. I
Mhm.
mean, there's a whole world in that one statement, is there
Yeah.
not?
And then that translates into the spiritual life very nicely, where we because essentially, we want to be, you could say, like naked in front of each other, and
Yes.
we embrace everything of each other. And at the same time, in spiritual life, that's what we're trying to cultivate with Krishna, because anyway, he can see everything, but we're trying to come to that space where we're not hiding anything, where we are
Mm.
completely like honest with who we are, and we go to him with that, and trust, because there's fear that he will not accept us if we are a certain way, or if we have certain blemishes or vices, then we think he will not accept me like this. So then we try to hide these things, because this is again, and that goes into our human relationships as well. So I think that being married to an incredible devotee woman um, has really aided my spiritual life in that way, where I'm
Mm.
feeling really, I'm learning how to approach Krishna openly and with transparency, and not, yeah, pretending to be something else. So, but actually, like living that, not just it being in the head, because I think everybody knows that, but to do it is like, it's not easy, because, yeah, there's a lot
Yeah.
of white noise in the mind, so to even see clearly in your own heart what is going on is very difficult. So I
Oh
feel
my
that
gosh,
my
yes.
relationship with my wife has really served me a lot in that capacity as well.
That's
Yeah.
that's just what like anyone could wish for, because if we do, it's like I remember when I got married and Ranaswamy was there and he said to me, and I said, what now? What do I do now? Like, what do I do now? And his words were he just said, Jiva, keep Krishna in the middle of this and everything will be fine. And when he said that, everything you're saying is a part of that statement. And another thing that he said to me was, he said this often to me, Jiva, use your creative intelligence. And I was always like, oh, what's an easy thing to say? Use my creative intelligence. What is that supposed to mean? When I first said that, I'm like, thanks. First of all, I'm glad he thinks I have that, because I'm not sure if I do. But I think if we look at scripture and we look at any scripture from any religion, actually, being married, it's all about learning to love God. Everything we do is to learn to love God. And that's why I love Krishna consciousness so much, because it actually addresses all of that. Actually, Christianity does too, but this is a bhakti recovery program. But I love to use all kinds of, I just want to be all inclusive, because I think we're all saying the same thing here.
Yes.
So using your marriage, not using your marriage, but being married, being in that marriage relationship with family and all of that other stuff. If we are using our creative intelligence, if we are being painstaking about this phase of our life and reflective, nothing goes to waste. Not an experience, not an action, not a thought. Nothing goes to waste if we just sort of recycle them into Krishna consciousness.
Yes. And that's the purpose of everything, is to should serve that. Actually, it says that the only religious principle that actually exists is that one should always remember Krishna and never forget him. And all other religious principles are simply servants of that one.
Yeah, that's
So
say that again. Say that again. Say it again.
The only religious principle is to always remember God and never forget him. And all other religious principles are servants of that one principle. So every scripture, injunction, every ritual, whatever, should be understood in this light. And that is the correct understanding of all of these things.
Oh,
is that
God,
this
I
is
love
meant
that.
to help me remind me of God and to help
Who
me to
says
not
this?
forget him.
Who said
This
this?
is one of the
Vyasadeva?
Goswamis. Yeah,
Oh,
it's one of the
okay.
Goswamis, Rupa Goswami or somebody. Nectar of
Okay.
Devotion. Yeah, it's
Oh, it's
yeah,
nectar of
that's
devotion,
it.
which
Yeah.
should be.
Always remember Krishna, never forget him, It's
Wow.
often said, but the import of that
Yeah,
is very
I've heard
deep.
that. I've heard that.
Yeah.
I've heard that a lot, and it would be nice. I'm going to figure out where that is. Let me put in the show
Yeah.
notes.
Yeah, I'll find
But
some reference and give it to you.
Yeah, that's such a powerful statement for everything. And I think every single one of us, if we're lucky enough, if we're blessed enough to have that insight, we have every day, every second, every minute of every day, the opportunity to practice that. And that's the thing. And I think that's why Maya is here. We have this, the polar thing. We do, people are like, oh, there is no polar in life. And we have to, the impersonalist has a slightly different take on that. But I think there are impersonalists who understand actually that statement in the same way we do. But I think for me, I don't know if I'm I'm not a jnani yoga, and I don't think that I'm qualified to detach from everything, because I'm just a very attached person. So bhakti is very good for me, because I need to have that personalization, because I am that person who thinks, I do have the good evil thing. Last night, I just have to tell you something. Last night, I had this horrible dream. I woke up at 4 a.m. I don't know if you believe in demons. I know this sounds all kind of weird, but I got really scared because I woke up last night. I had this dream that I was sitting, and I don't know who it was, but I was sitting with someone else, and someone said, okay, I'm going to bring in a possessed woman, and I want to see who can take that the most. And I
You had a
sat there with,
dream of this.
yes, this was a
Wow.
dream. And I sat in this chair with this other guy, and this witch woman, she was so scary. She was like one of those, like The Ring, like one of those really scary looking demons. And she came up to us both in the chair, and she was like, "Rah, rah," and I was just like, what the hell? And this other guy got up and ran, and I just started screaming at her. I was just like, and I woke up going like that. That's how I woke up last night.
Jeez.
And then I was so scared. I put on the Gita. I put on the Gita audiobook and started listening to it. I was like, God, I didn't like that dream. But that's kind of the reason why I mention that now, because those are the distractions. Those are the things. I mean, if we want to be like all, if you want to get all like, good and evil, and if we want to get into the mystic part of it and the ghosts and all that stuff, we can, but not everybody believes in that. But if we just look at it scientifically, there's something that scares you and something that doesn't, right? You have safety and you have unsafe. And I think Maya reminds us of the unsafeties of what's going on in this world, what we see and what we don't see, what we feel, Are you distracted? What are you doing?
No, I just, my internet cut out for 15 seconds and I was just checking. So I didn't hear what you just said the past
Oh no.
20
Okay.
seconds. Yeah, yeah. It cut off when you were saying about you put on the guitar. The
Oh my
guitar
goodness.
recordings. Yes, yes.
Oh my goodness. Okay, so I said I put on the Gita recordings, and we could dive into the whole thing. That's like, we can dive into like, are there ghosts? Are there evil spirits? Are there demons? Are there good forces and bad forces? We can get into all of that. But we can also just see it as something really simple. Like there are things that are scary and unsafe, and there are things that are safe. And I know in this world, there's a lot of things that are unsafe for me, spiritually, emotionally, psychologically. It cut out again, didn't it?
It did, yeah.
That's okay. Why don't you turn your camera off?
Is it mine? Does it say like there that my connection is bad?
No, but it doesn't say that mine is, and usually
Okay.
says mine is bad.
Right, right. Okay, let me do that. Maybe that'll help.
Oh my God, I love that picture of your family. Oh my God, it's so cool. I wish you guys could see this. He just put his camera off, and he has this picture of his family, and it's adorable. He's got such a cute family. He's got such an adorable family.
So you were saying about how these things are really just distractions, actually.
Yeah, they're
And
distractions, and they're things that make you feel unsafe. And there are things in this world that make you unsafe. And we can see it as demons. We can see it as bad forces if you're into that. And if you're not into that, we can just say things that, that are scary and not nice. So, I can see it in a lot of lights. And last night I just got the crap scared out of me last night. It was so scary when I woke up. I was like, oh my God. It was like one of those moments where I was like, don't look under the bed.
just don't.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, I think we've really talked a lot about transparency and the benefits of that. And we've come down to the point of being transparent with ourselves. Being transparent with ourselves is where it starts, and having the willingness and open-mindedness and the honesty to do that. And I believe that when we're embarking on something like that, when we're just starting that kind of journey, it really is helpful to be with like-minded people. It's very helpful to ask for help, to go to meetings, maybe, if that's your thing, get a sponsor, just have someone sort of who has experience in that to guide you. What do you think about that?
Yeah, it's essential because one of the symptoms of a conditioned entity like us is that they have the tendency to cheat, and it's
Mm.
cheating means also like not being honest with yourself. So we have the tendency of being like, no, everything's okay, everything's fine, or that didn't affect me, or this desire is not present in my heart. And we've got all these techniques and tools to like dodge it. But this tendency is within us. So
Mm.
unless we have somebody who can point it out to us when we're doing it, how will we know we're doing it? Because because we're also like we're an illusion. So
Mm.
we need fellowship, we need relationship, we need spiritual masters, we need that. We need somebody who can say
Yes.
and call us out and say, hey man, what did you just do? And then
Mm.
and then you just like being open to that. Or
Yeah.
going to somebody and saying, what should I do? You know, this is my condition, what should I do? So it's
Mm.
vital. It's absolutely vital. Not, I mean, just for being a healthy human being, what to speak of, being on a spiritual path. You can't avoid
Wow.
it. You cannot avoid it. Nobody can do it alone.
I love that. I really love that. I love that statement because it's not only an option, it's a truth that
Hmm.
rings, that I think rings like the sun. I think
Yeah.
you can put yourself in the, you can close the shades, you can do whatever you want, but it's there. And it is one of the truths it's one of the God-given truths. Um, and I think you said it just wonderfully. Um, I also wanted to ask you, how are the meetings going in, speaking of being totally transparent, speaking of
Mhm.
being of service and being in, association with others and in fellowship? How are the meetings going? And what do you think you need in order for them to grow in Mayapur?
They're going steady. I think,
Mm-hmm.
I guess there's like the meetings itself, and then also like internally how I'm like my experience of doing that service. But there's not many coming because it's not so well publicized yet. We're still talking about how to um,
Navigate
get
through that,
more,
yeah.
yes, and more attention from people who need it. But those who are coming, they're very appreciative and they're very like embracing that process. So it's like good quality, which
That's so
that is
good.
coming. Yes.
That's so
So,
good.
so I'm happy
How
about
is
that.
so the people who are coming, are they just sort of, half timers there, or are there people coming who live there full time?
Um, there's the men's groups who I'm not able to attend at the moment, and then so I don't know who's going there. And in the ACA group, the general meetings that I'm doing, they are all visiting devotees here. They none of them are permanent residents.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, you see, this is interesting, but it's also really nice that people who are traveling through get to have a meeting. That's a
Yes.
wonderful service.
Mhm.
I know we have the Bhakti Recovery Group online, but in person, there's just something so special about an in-person meeting.
Oh yeah.
And I find that we really need to start to figure out how we can navigate keeping our integrity in Mayapur, to really have that solid offer, and to reach as many people as possible. Um, After this, actually, shall we have a small talk after our interview?
Yeah, we could for a few
Okay.
minutes.
Yeah, for a few minutes.
That'd be good.
So, yeah, I mean, I feel like we're at a natural end. It's like it's an
Mhm.
hour anyway. Don't you feel like we're at a natural ending of this?
Yeah, I do. It's a lot to take in and cook down.
Yes. I thank you so much. You're just one of the most insightful people I know, and I've grown really to not only appreciate you, but I think I really have a lot of affection for you and your family.
Mm.
I don't mean I think, I do. And I'm really happy that you're in my life. And even more so after that one honest conversation we had. I mean, we have lots of honest conversations, but so let's keep that up.
That's really sweet. Thanks, Jiva. I appreciate
Yeah,
that.
I appreciate you a lot. So, thank you all for listening. Brhat Mrdanga, like I said, he heads up the in-person meetings in Mayapur. If you are in Mayapur or around Mayapur or traveling, or you're going to be in Mayapur, please get in touch with, and you need a meeting and you want an in-person meeting, get in touch with Brhat Mrdanga. How can people get in touch with you? Via email or?
Yeah, there's email and WhatsApp is easiest. Yeah.
Okay. How can people get in touch with you? Because I don't know if you want to publicize your telephone number, but
It's okay. I'm anyway putting it on the posters and stuff for the meeting, so
okay, I'll put it in the show
I'll give it
notes.
to you. Yes, put it in there.
I'll put it in the show notes.
Mhm.
And just reach out to him. He's such an empathetic, sweet guy. Totally sincere.
I might take a day or two to respond. My family
Yeah, I know
life is
you're.
very busy.
I know, and also you're
But
not
I
really
will.
on. I know you're not on WhatsApp all the time. I know that, so
Yeah.
that's actually a good thing.
Mhm.
All right.
Great.
So I will see you soon. Haribol,
Yes.
everyone. Thank you
Thanks a
again.
lot. Hare Krishna.
Haribol. This concludes another episode. Thanks for listening. In order for me to serve this community to the best of my ability, I welcome feedback. Please write your feedback at bhaktirecoverypodcast@gmail.com. That's bhaktirecoverypodcast@gmail.com. Also, please don't forget to follow and give us a 5-star rating. Share this with family and friends. If you'd like to join our Bhakti Recovery community or just find out what we're all about, please visit our website at www.bhaktirecoverygroup.com. That's www.bhaktirecoverygroup.com. There are no dues or fees, and we meet daily. If you or someone you know is struggling with addictions and or associated behaviors, you will find links in our show notes to various 12-step programs. Nobody seeking recovery need ever be alone again.
सर्वधर्मान् परित्यज्य मामेकं शरणं व्रज.
The miseries of material existence and the most hopeless conditions of life is the best possible opportunity to turn to God.